Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello and welcome back to Homeschool Together. It is a new year. We have gone around the sun yet again, and this year we have an extra day.
We've survived.
We survived. We got to make up for those quarter days we have left behind. Thank you.
It's a leap year, man.
I know. Thank you guys, every one of you. You guys are wonderful. Obviously it's a brand new year, but we crossed 250,000 downloads for the podcast, which is a nice.
What a big, exciting.
It is a
cheers to us.
It is cheers to us. Ting ting ting.
Ding. We can actually say that we can now measure our podcast
in
episodes.
The M's.
Yes, right.
Always that nice
fractions of a million.
And we know there's a bunch of new listeners that maybe have found us just recently. Feel free to go down and check all of our links in our social media as well as our YouTube channel where we do our videos as we kind of live vlog our homeschooling experience. We've done our around the world journey. We've done our prehistory, and we're currently doing ancient civilizations. And we provide a lot of extra resources and a lot of great things for you. And if you're thinking about, hey, these guys are really good, how can I support the podcast? There is always a link to do that in our Gumroad store as well. So today we were going to be doing kind of a wrap up of, what are we doing for this coming year?
This is one of my favorite episodes, really, because it's fun. It's funny. We do this episode to tell you all what we're going to do, but we end up, this spurs us to make a plan for what we're actually going to do. So we just sat here before the episode and going okay, well, we basically knew this, and we had the big movements.
Yeah, exactly.
But we didn't have exactly what are we going to do with each kid?
Well, it's for us, it's our, gosh, she's third grade now. She's going to be third grade this coming year. She's second right now. We've been doing this for 4 years now with our daughter. Our littlest will become part of the story.
I think actually 5, because we started when she was 3.
That's right.
Let's give ourselves all the credit.
Yeah, we're half decade. We're a half decade into this.
We're pros.
Yeah, we're pros. We're literally experts. First ballot Hall of Famers here. But the funny thing is we know there's a lot of homeschooling families out there who might be cutting their teeth for the first time this year.
Yeah.
And it can be a lot of really scary. And, you're probably thinking about what curriculums do I choose and how do I plan all this? And the funny thing for a lot of us, as my hands are flying around and I know I'm getting free steps. Give me 1 second.
He's Italian. He gestures with his
Italian,
hands.
Yes. My Italian heritage was coming out. We've made a lot of decisions over the last few years. And for us, it's really just executing the game plan that we already know that's coming, right?
Yeah.
And for a lot of us, it's just, okay, what's the next, level, or what is the next thing that we have to do, or, how are we going to cycle back and incorporate, we'll talk a little bit about the nuance of kind of a unique year this year, but a lot of the stuff is already kind of written in stone. Okay, our daughter is responding well to this curriculum. We are going to then move on to the next thing. We have our patterns, especially when it comes to math and reading.
So I would say the movements are in stone, right? So it's the major movements. It's not the exact. And I'll give a good example of that. We really felt, looking back at 2023, our older daughter loved Blossom in Early Years, Volume 2. She just, she took to it. She loved it. She loved the classical music. She loved the building blocks. She loved all the pieces, right? This was the painting, all of it. It was great for her. So we knew that what was set in stone for us was that this year we were going to really start formally, kind of paying attention to our preschooler who's now 4. And we were really going to start being intentional with her. We have done lots of play-based stuff, and she's, of course, sitting there with...
This is our 4-year-old, not our 8-year-old.
Right, our 4-year-old. She's been sitting there with her older sister. She's been, picking up lots of stuff in the background and things. But this year was the first year we were going to be intentional with something for her.
Yeah.
Now, we decided to try Blossom in Volume 2, which she totally didn't take to. As much as we love that curriculum.
And our older loved it.
She loved it. Yeah. Our younger did not. So that's, I think... So we went ahead and kind of pivoted and said, well, we're going to do some more workbooks and things with our younger daughter, which she absolutely loves.
Which is the funny thing is, and maybe just as an outside, stepping back and saying, when you have multiple kids, you always think, oh man, it's, the second one's going to be just like the first one.
Right. And they're totally
And they are
different.
like mere opposites right now.
They are. And at 4, our older daughter now likes workbooks, but she didn't love them at 4.
No.
Our younger one loves them. So yeah. So when we say written in stone, I think we're really saying like, the
older one is
the intention and the basic game plan. And that was true. We were more intentional about our younger daughter in 2023. We tried Blossom and Root. We tried a couple of different, types of curriculum things. We tried a little bit of playing preschool. That was just not her jam. And so we ended up just kind of getting these workbooks and then adding in all this ancient civilization stuff that we're doing with our older daughter. We just kind of folded in our younger daughter, and she's really just liked kind of being a part of that. So we found that was enough. So yeah, we have
because
this
she is
kind
preschool, and we know out there's a lot of talk about, oh no, do I need a preschool curriculum? Do I need to do stuff? And there's a lot of people who fall on the no, just let them play. They're preschoolers. And the other people will say, well, no, you can do things with them that are more structured.
And it's totally, in my opinion,
the answer is yes on both.
It's totally dependent on your kiddo.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Our daughter was ready to do something. She was jealous of sister getting to do things. She wanted to be a part of it. And for us to be like, no, you're 4, you can't start learning math, she was just not cool with, right? She wanted to know her numbers, and she wanted to talk about colors, and she wanted to work on some letter recognition and play board games, and she wanted to do all that stuff. So it would have been wrong for us to say no. But for other folks whose kids are just totally not in that sphere, and yeah, play, that's great. So
do whatever's right with your child.
Right. So we've thought ahead, a few years, and kind of thought about like the major movements of what we really want to do, and based on our kids' temperaments and what they like and things, and the kind of goals that we have for them, the big overarching goals, what we kind of plan to do each year. So that's where, we step into this new year and we go, okay, we're going to execute. This is the year, for example, that we know this is the great convergence year, where we're going to start merging our kids' social studies and kind of our bit, we did prehistory, as you talked about. We did an around the world journey. We're doing ancient civilizations. This is the year where we're going to bring our kids together and have them do one thing together. So that's our big thing this year. It is, other than of course math and reading for science and for social studies and things in history, we're going to bring them together. So that's kind of the major movements.
And we'll talk a little bit about
we'll go through all of it. But that's kind of when we talk about, we already have this game plan. It's not that the flexibility isn't there to make curriculum changes or pivot or the way that we're doing it, because we are flexing constantly. Well, we're flexing week to week, right? I mean,
we're absolutely in discovery mode with our youngest.
We are, but even our oldest is changing quite a bit at this point. At 8, she's got a lot more opinions about things, and
she got a lot of opinions.
There's a lot of sass there. She's got a lot, and so I think the thing is like, I feel we're pivoting every week. We're doing ancient civilizations, and there's some weeks that are just really clicking and hitting, and there's other weeks that aren't great. And we're like, we're going to pivot. We're going to do this. Or, we're going to lean into shield making. If you watched our YouTube videos, you saw us make shields because that's what our kids were into that week. So, I think that the whole summary of this little soapbox of mine is, it's great to have an overall plan, but in the details, you have to be willing to pivot and be flexible. And I think that has worked really well for our family, at least. I don't think we've ever done like a 180 where we were like, thought that this was in general what we were going to do, and it was like out of left field. No, we can't do that.
We've had a little bit more with that with our 4-year-old. That's been kind of
a little bit, but nothing where we were like, oh, that's totally not. We tried to work on this, and we had this goal this year that we were going to teach her numbers, and threw that right out the window. There hasn't been anything like major that way. It's just been, what materials did we use? How did we present something? Maybe how intensive something was, even for our older daughter. It's more like the nuances of it. Yeah,
we had a lot more frustrations, I think, with our oldest daughter when we were first getting started with respect to reading and math. My youngest is almost polar opposite of that. She's like begging for it. It's unbelievable.
Right, and we probably started a little bit too early with our older daughter, but she was asking for it, and we didn't realize that just because she wanted it, she wasn't really ready for it.
Yes.
Whereas our younger daughter is both asking for it
And
and
ready.
giving us the signs that she's ready.
Exactly.
So
let's dive
that's the
into it.
difference.
Our oldest daughter is 8 and she'll be turning 9 later this year.
Mm-hmm.
So she's kind of in that quote unquote second grade. We know homeschoolers, we really don't think about grades, but
But
when
we
you're-
do. Let's
But we
face
do.
it.
It's sort of like, don't judge a book by its cover. And yes, we judge every book by its cover.
Right. I think they're guidelines,
guidelines.
and it's really helpful for us to try to use them to basically place curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
But when you buy something for the grade it's supposed to be, and then that doesn't work, you're like, you feel free to pivot up or down and not feel bad about it. You're like, oh, I'm homeschooling. I have permission to go either direction.
You have
But in
that
general,
freedom, yeah.
she's in second grade.
Exactly. So she's second grade. So let's dive into math. So the math this year will be kind of broken up into 2 pieces, the first half of the year and the second half of the year. The first half of the year, we're going to spend finishing up our Right Start Math D, which we are currently, like 60% of the way through. And that is the equivalent of like kind of a late 3rd grade, early 4th grade math. So for her age, she is very accelerated in math.
She's really talented with math.
Very talented with math.
She just gets it.
The Right Start Math has been a great curriculum for us and for her, and I'm eager to see if it works for my youngest. We'll find out later. Little spoilers coming up. And then what we like to do with Right Start Math is once we finish that, we'd like to backfill that with a little bit of mastery, because I like her to just have practice doing problems and going over the same concepts twice or 3 times. For her is very helpful, and we'd use Math Mammoth as that review. So we finished the Right Start Math D, and I'll probably start it a little bit before the end of that in order to not feel like it's just a serial event. We'll kind of do it in parallel a little bit. I'll overlap it. Right Start has about 135 lessons in it for one unit. And I'll probably start the Math Mammoth somewhere around 100 or 110 lessons. So like in the last 2 or 3 months of the curriculum, I'll start having her do 1 or 2 pages of Math Mammoth. It will be very easy because it's stuff that she had already learned from
and
last
it's
year.
nice, it's independent. It's a great thing to do too, because when you're going to make that transition, it's going to be in the summer. So it'll be a great way to kind of scale back on the formal lessons a little bit.
It will.
And with still reinforcing math concepts
And I
every day.
believe that will be Math Mammoth 3. Yeah, that's ones we'll be on. And hopefully it typically takes us a couple months to finish that as a review. So that'll take up probably for the rest of the year, maybe half of the year into the summer. And just as an adjunct, we do homeschool year round. That's an important thing for us. Frees up a lot more time, say at the holidays. It gives us more free time to do travel. It gives us more free time to, life comes and we want a few days off.
right.
We homeschool all year round. And so for us, we were able to make up more ground. And I actually think we cover more ground because of that as well.
Yeah, I think we do too. And it's just an important note on Right Start. Right Start A starts kind of the kindergarten, but Math Mammoth doesn't start till grade 1. So that's why you have to go through 4, we're going through 4 lessons of Right Start and only getting on the 3rd lesson of Math Mammoth.
Exactly.
And one of the things we really like about Right Start is it's just got this great theoretical foundation of math.
A lot of great concepts, and it loops really well.
Right. I feel like the way that I learned math in school was just like rote memorization and practice. You just did the same thing over and over again. Right Start gives you all the kind of like the whys, the background, all that context. And then Math Mammoth gives you all that practice. So the 2 of them together, I think, are a really powerful combo.
I do.
And Math Mammoth is super affordable. So it's just a great way to kind of pick up, reinforce those concepts, because Right Start, while it's great in the conceptual thing, doesn't seem to have as much just practice problems. So the 2 dovetail super well together.
That is true for those first few levels of it. I'm starting to see a lot more practice problems now.
Good.
But not to the same level that Math Mammoth has. So if you find that your learner needs a lot more practice, Math Mammoth tends to lead into that a little bit better, and I like that for that reason.
Yeah.
And that is why I use it as this kind of review. Is it's almost like a practice review.
You could also you could do them at the same time if you were not on the same level.
Yeah.
If you wanted to have something that your child could do independently every day, because that's one of the great things about Math Mammoth for us. Right Start is very instructor intensive. You've really got to sit there and work through the whole thing. Whereas
even at this level, it does.
Even at this level, I could see us say, you start, you're almost done with Right Start. You start Math Mammoth 3. I could see you almost go ahead and start with Right Start E, which is going to be the next step. Sometime when you still want her to be working independently in Math Mammoth, so you can work with our younger daughter, because it gives her a great do 2 pages of that. And maybe that's something she learned months back, but you can kind of use it as great review.
And we'll talk about this towards the end. The idea of balancing is going to be a challenge for us. That's something we're going to have to learn. So going into, as what you said, the second half of the year, very simple. We're just going to go right into Right Start E, which will be the next level. And we'll just continue that for the end of the year. So math is fairly straightforward for us.
Yeah.
We tend to complete about 1.5 levels of Right Start a year with the Math Mammoth review as well. So typically we're doing about 1.5 levels. We could go a little faster, but I like slowing down a little bit and doing a lot of review, doing those practice problems. I think it's been a cool thing that we've done for the last 2 years that I think has really, driven home the concepts, but also because I drive home the concepts, it has increased our velocity in order to get through the math. So it's been a cool little wrinkle that we've kind of discovered that works. We're going to ride that wrinkle as long as it rains.
No, and if we end up finding at one point that one of the curriculums is working much better than the other, then we may pivot. But right now they work really well together. And
it's probably our most solid thing we do.
It totally is. And just a note for those of you who are just looking at Right Start, it's a pretty expensive initial manipulative set. It's a couple $100. But we've been using it since level A, and I think you can use that set. I mean, you use that set the whole time, but in middle school you have to add a geometry extra set. So this set will take us without needing to buy anything else through all of elementary school. And then it'll take us there with our second daughter as well. Yep. So, pretty, little expensive initial, but man, it's really paid off having those manipulatives, because that's one of the things with Math Mammoth. While it's great and they make some suggestions she makes about what you could do as manipulatives and some things you could print off and stuff. The tactileness, that Right Start Math manipulative set is really top notch. And I'm super glad that we bit the bullet and just got that.
Yeah, I think it was a good investment.
Yeah.
Now moving on from math for our 8-year-old into reading. We have finished All About Reading level 2. We just did that probably towards the end of last year. We have been doing All About Spelling level 1, which has been kind of a brisk review because she is able to spell those words very easily. Typically, All About Spelling is something you want to finish after the first level of All About Reading, but we finished the first 2, so she's a little bit more advanced, and so we're moving through it really quickly. Yeah. I just wanted to kind of go through the curriculum just for myself to know what it's like, but also to drive home that, okay, she does know how to spell these words. It's a lot of CVC words.
But this is really great.
And reinforcing the rules and all that
stuff.
Our
daughter is she's great in math, but reading is something that she struggles with in both, not so much skill, I think, a little bit in skill, but mostly in confidence.
It's all confidence.
And so doing All About Spelling, especially doing it a little bit later, it's really building a lot of confidence for her. So I could see us definitely finish All About Spelling 1 because she's doing it mostly independently. Yeah. And then, probably picking up All About Spelling level 2 and going through that as well, because again, she can be independent while we're working on the next level, right?
Exactly. And so then once we finish All About Spelling, we may do All About Spelling 2, but
probably maybe in parallel
with All About Reading level 3. Right, and so fairly straightforward, straight into that. We're going to take a little bit of a break like we always do and have her do a little bit of Explode the Code and Beyond the Code. This is something just like we use with Math Mammoth as kind of a reinforcing concepts. I like using Explode the Code and specifically the Beyond the Code for the reading
comprehension
and the reading comprehension stuff. I've been enjoying that because the stories are really accessible at her level. The questions and answers are really good, and I like it. And we've done, I think, a couple levels of that now, and we're just going to pick up the next level.
It's been great.
It's been great.
It's been something that...
And again, just like Math Mammoth, it's a very affordable curriculum.
Yeah, it's super duper affordable. It's another independent thing. So that's great. And we even used Get Ready for the Code with our younger daughter, and that worked great as well. That, yeah. She really liked it. We did end up starting her with All About Reading's pre-reading, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but we did do the Get Ready for the Code earlier. So that whole Beyond the Code and Explode the Code series,
we've touched almost every level of it now.
It's really good. It looks kind of cheesy when you look at like the drawings and stuff, but our kids really like it. So if you haven't, and especially if you're on a budget, that's a great one to look into.
Absolutely. And then the other thing that we're doing specifically, not curriculum based, but we are increasing the amount of time that she is spending reading books. This is something that we've added. If you go back a couple episodes, we talked about our Kanban board. We are now fully Kanban family for at least our older daughter on daily tasking,
Yeah.
things you have to get done, all your hobbies you have to work on, all your extracurriculars that you have signed up for that you make sure you need to practice, things like violin, playing basketball, doing your dance and things like that, keeping her fresh with that, but also giving her time to read every single day, about 20 to 30 minutes a day, where no pressure, nobody's in the room. She's quietly reading her books. We do verify a little bit on the reading comprehension. So I will quickly read what she supposedly has read. It's something that I can do in about 2 or 3 minutes. For her, it's a lot more challenging. And then I ask her some questions, and if she answers those correctly, that's how I know that she was able to read what she did. But I don't police this for accuracy. I'm really just trying to get her the habit and the enjoyment of time in book, and just really like enjoying that. And we've purchased, we're focusing mainly on graphic novels. It's something that she identifies well with, something that she enjoys. And we gave her a bunch for the holidays.
Right.
And
we gave her the first book in a number of very early chapter book series,
So we're kind of like
graphic novel
testing
series.
which one she might enjoy.
Yeah, and actually, I'll give you that list that you can put in the show notes because you guys can click on this. I did a lot of research to try to find the basic easiest reading graphic novels to start with. So that's been really great. We're also working on for reading, we're working on upping that active literacy. We find with 2 children, we don't have as much time to read as we did before. So especially, it used to be when our little one was more of a glowworm or just playing, we could just read to our older daughter and she would just kind of play. But now she's like, no. If you read to her, you read to me. And now we have like doubled the reading time.
That's what happened tonight. Yeah. She's like, oh, you read to her last night. You have to read to me
so
now.
It's a whole
like,
thing.
Oh my God,
so
it's a thing.
Grandma luckily got Yodo players for us for Christmas. And I think we'll do a whole episode on those coming up because they've been fantastic for homeschool. But we're using those to outsource a little bit of the reading in audio form just to increase the active literacy of both kids. And it's really, our 8-year-old especially loves it. So
even our 4-year-old's enjoying it as well.
Yeah, they both are. So it's really great. So between doing the reading curriculum and then reinforcing it with Explode the Code, doing her own reading, and then having that audio time, we're hoping that multifaceted approach will really just kind of cement that love of reading for her.
And we've mentioned a lot of stuff, and please keep in mind this is something that we're talking about things that we're doing over the course of the entire year, all these various things that we're not doing all these things at one time. At any one point we may be doing 1-2 curriculums and the reading activities as well, and that's about it. And on a daily basis we might spend an hour and 10, hour and 15, including her private reading time, doing reading level activities and stuff like that. And for math, it's about, I'm doing about 30 or 40 minutes a day, about 3 or 4 times a week. And that's about it. That's all we do. And so we kind of spread it out, and it's not as intense as it sounds. But we have found a nice groove with her.
I would say, would you say our daily homeschool time, not her independent reading time, the time you're actually sitting and instructing with her and our younger daughter, I would say it's probably in the sub 2-hour mark a daily if you averaged it across the days. Some days we do a little more because we don't have as many classes at our parent partnership, and other days we have a lot. So
typically,
we do less.
I'm very heavy on Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays. Those are my big homeschool days. And that will be true going forward until June. And then the summer will open wide up, and I got a lot more time there. And then we're going to see how the end of the year, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the end, how the end of the year might work out. But right now I'm doing about 3, big days, and those days tend to be a lot longer,
right?
A lot more intensive. Wednesdays and Fridays tend to be very light. In that respect, I tend to make up stuff in the evenings, like reading books, or on the weekends, if you're doing something like at a play or something of that nature, I will then, read stories and, read chapter books and whatnot. So a lot of times I make choices, kind of spread some of the reading out throughout the week. So you're right. About 2.5 hours a day, maybe at the most, is what we're investing.
Right. On average.
And that would include a lot of the time I'm putting in with my youngest as well.
Right.
Yeah. So let's get into the big thing, the big merging. So the first half of this year is going to be fairly straightforward with respect to our social studies curriculum. We are just going to continue doing our ancient civilizations. This is the Build Your Library Ancient Civilizations
Level 1.
Level 1. We have been very much enjoying it. I think we're about to start week 21, so we got about another 15 weeks or so to go. Just over halfway through. We believe we will finish that sometime in May, maybe June timeframe.
Yeah.
And then when that's done, we are going to then fall back 2 years.
The Great Convergence.
The Great Convergence.
will happen.
And we are going to align our youngest, who will then be 5 at that time, and starting her kindergarten experience, her K experience. And we're going to be doing the around the world journeys, but it's going to be a little bit more truncated than we did before. Yeah. And we're going to do what the exciting thing is, we're going to bring along an older learner. And we know there's a lot of families out there who are homeschooling, and there's a big question: how do I bring an older learner along with a younger person's curriculum? And we're going to be really tackling that, especially in our vlogging. We're going to talk about the challenges there and what we are going to do. So if you are going to take this journey around the world, we already did a whole over 1 year of vlogging videos.
We comboed Torchlight Zero and Build Your Library, or Torchlight K and Build Your Library Zero, and we did this was a year and a half or something.
Like that,
and so we're not going to do that again. We're going to do a much more truncated version because we have the kids together, and we're going to try to keep that down. And we're also going to, we know what we like, we know what we want to lean into. When it gets that time, we'll have an episode and we'll talk all about exactly what our plan is. We're still talking about what we want to do.
Continue to vlog through our experience, we're going to reference the books for older learners. So like that
we'll have a 9-year-old we got to bring along. And
exactly.
The same, as much as she's, I think, still going to enjoy some picture books, because I still enjoy some picture books. There's going to be other challenges. And there's going to be some other things that we're going to want to lean into with her.
Absolutely. Now, the thing that we are missing is we were thinking about doing the Torchlight pre-K, but we're going to decide not to do that because our youngest is just not into that.
Well, she's actually really enjoying the Ancient Civ stuff.
Yeah.
It was funny because she was asking me about Athena last night and wanting to watch videos on YouTube all about Athena. And our younger daughter was the one requesting this. So I think she fell into enjoying the Ancient Civ stuff more than we expected her to at 4.
Yep.
But we had thought about doing, she didn't really take to the Blossom and Root Early Years Volume 2 because it wasn't quite rigorous enough. It wasn't quite enough activity for her. It was gentler. And we thought, well, she'd probably meld a lot better with Torchlight Pre-K, which when we did it with our older daughter at 4 was a little bit too much for her.
Exactly.
So it's funny, but we thought, this is actually be perfect for our younger daughter. But we don't have time to do the whole thing. We want to get to the Around the World journey. She wants to do the Around the World journey. So we talked about we'll pull in our favorite picture books because we bought a lot of those for Torchlight Pre-K. And we'll use some of what I really want to lean into is the social emotional part, because that's really the gem of Torchlight Pre-K is teaching them all about emotions and things, and that kind of emotional literacy. And we still reference the Breathe Like a Bear book and stuff.
I heard your feelings and all that stuff.
So we have all that stuff. So I think what we're going to do is go through there and really lean into that stuff in the first half of the year and pick out our favorite books from it and some of our favorite activities, and kind of take what we want from Torchlight Pre-K since we already own it.
Yep.
Before we move on to Level K, which I think she's more than ready for.
Absolutely. I think that's going to be a really, for us, it's going to be a nice discovery because we're going to have to do some work and, finding things that our oldest is going to enjoy and maybe find new gems for her separate from, when her experience, she was 6 years old when she did that. And now she's going to be, close to 9. When we start that again, she's going to have a different appreciation. She's going to have a different level of expectation, and she's going to have a different level of capabilities that we can exploit for learning and reading and math and other types of interests that she may have, and we can begin to cultivate that. And so I think that's going to be a nice little wrinkle, and especially we know there's a lot of families out there who ask this question of, I got these curriculums, am I able to bridge this up?
Right.
And in some questions, can I bridge it down? Because so I want to, bring... I don't want to have 3 separate curriculums.
People who do multiple levels of Build Your Library, my hat's off to you, man. I don't know how I would do that.
We struggle to balance the one. I can't imagine if I was doing Around the World with my kindergartner and then I had to go do Middle Ages with my older. It's like my head would be spinning. And I think for us, we're going to do all this again. But we're going to be doing it, I think, with this new wrinkle that I think is going to be interesting. I think it's going to be interesting to a lot of families out there who might want to kind of bring kids together and make things a little bit more realistic from the standpoint of the educator.
Well, I'm excited because when we did Around the World the first time, we did not have our resource guides done at the time that we went through and did that.
Yeah.
So now we'll have them, all the videos and extra books and things that we can, and recipes, and we love the food. You know, we love the food.
I can't wait.
So really excited about that piece of it too, that we're going to be able to share that with our daughter.
I agree.
And I know some people are concerned about like, okay, well, if we take a couple of steps back, that means that our older daughter is not going to move up at the same level. But kind of my argument is at any of these things, ancient civs. Okay, so she'll do ancient civ again when she's 10, 11.
10, yeah.
You know, we're learning stuff doing ancient civs right now. I'm 40. So I think going down can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge because it's hard for them to get their head around certain concepts when they're younger. But when they're older, there's always more to learn, more books, more videos, more things to do. So I'm not worried that we're going to be at some point like depriving our older one of going through these levels. She may, as an upper high schooler, end up skipping some levels, or we may end up moving a little bit faster with both kids. But I think we have to kind of set our speed based on where our younger daughter's at. Thankfully, she's, you know, smart as a whip. So
she's
we'll see what she's ready for, and we'll kind of go through it together.
And we'll talk, you know, talking a little bit about that. Our 4.5-year-old will be turning 5 middle of this year, and she'll be starting her kindergarten curriculum. And so from the standpoint of math, like, what do you do with a 4.5-year-old with math? Well, my 4.5-year-old is very interested in math. She refers to all homeschool as her math, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, all of his maths.
And it was actually all reading. It was actually like reading in letters but she called it her math.
Yeah.
And I said, well, why don't we start doing some math?
Well, she was really upset that her sister was getting to do workbooks and stuff, and she's like, "Where's my math?" So we had to like go and get her some. We just went and got some cheap workbooks just to kind of keep her happy, so she'd have something to do. And then she started excelling at it. And we were like, "Oh, okay."
Exactly. And so what we're going to be doing for the first half of this year with respect to math for our 4.5-year-old is I have been using the Evan Moore workbooks. These are books we've talked about in the past.
These are skill sharpeners.
These are the skill sharpener books, and specifically we are doing right now is the pre-K math book, which we have like ripped through. It's like 120 pages, and we're on like we only have like 10 more pages to go. And we've been doing it for like a month and a half.
We went and bought the K math book.
I had to scramble because we were moving through. Like I would say, hey, let's do 2 or 3 pages. She goes, no, Dad, let's do 3 or 4 more. And then
she kept asking
let's
for more
do
pages
2 or 3 more, and
like,
let's do 2 or 3 more. And I'm like, kid, we're doing 20 pages a day in this thing. What are we doing? This is crazy.
There are some days when she just really gets into it, and she loves it. Yeah.
So she loves the Evan Moore books, mainly because she loves coloring and she loves the visual aspect of any book. And so this is something I have to keep in mind as I go forward, making sure that there's this visual element, this tactile element. She can sit down and color for an hour and a half and be happy. And, you got to feed her new pages and stuff, but she's content doing that. So she's very special in that respect, because I don't even remember my oldest ever coloring anything at 4 years old.
She really wanted our she wanted us to be, she wanted our attention, and our younger daughter is a little happier to kind of do her own thing.
She is. And so it's kind of fun. So anyway, I've been leaning into the Evan Moore pre-K. We're about to start the Evan Moore K book. And I think that will last us until, hopefully, I don't know, we'll see how long it lasts us, but I might have to get the next level. But
well, we can also lean into, there's several other types we can do. Kumon, there's Brain Quest. There's lots of other things that we can do, and we'll probably stick with workbooks for a bit, because going into Right Start A too early. I mean, that's that's the next piece, and we'll start that when she's in kinder. But
I think when we start the summer, because it'll be a good time, because everything will calm down. All of our sports and activities, and the parent partnership will shut down, and we'll have a lot of free time. And I think I'm going to spend that very quality time with her with the Right Start A, and really sit down and really enjoy that experience with her, because I think she'll be ready for it. And it's a very fun tactile experience, especially at those really early days were really fun. You're playing with, like tiles and sticks and all this stuff. She's going to have a blast. I think she's
singing the songs,
singing all the songs,
What is it?
Oh,
Yellow is the sun.
This is only one. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. It was, oh my God, I got to block that out from like 4.5 years ago. But
You have nightmares tonight.
nightmares, yeah, I know. Oh my God, I can see the book too. Anyway, so it's very fun. I think she's going to have a good time, and I think we'll carry that through the rest of the year. So that's math. With respect to reading, I got a Evan Moore phonics book. So I'm going to introduce that in maybe about a month or two. We are finishing up the All About Reading. I always get it wrong. It's the All About Reading pre-reading, the pre-reading curriculum, which is right up her alley. It's coloring pages, listening, doing activities, cards, reading short stories, all the things she enjoys. It's really cool because every new lesson there's a page and we have to color it, and you color just the letter, but we end up, painting a whole sky and adding trees and all this stuff. She really, really enjoys it. And it's a really fun experience.
And she remembers, she knows a lot of her letters. It's amazing.
And again, this is where the two children are so wildly different. Where I struggled with my oldest memorizing, and she still has trouble memorizing things. So
she asked me B and D capital, the difference between the two. She goes, "Is it the big belly or the two?" Yesterday. I'm like, okay.
In contrast to my youngest daughter, who, looks at a number, you tell her once what it is, you show her how to write it, and she knows it from then on. Right. And it's so wildly different. And it's such I almost kind of laugh. It's like nature has gifted me a child who learns things instantly versus the struggle that I had for years with my oldest.
Well, but they're very different. Our oldest is very content to sit down and do whatever you ask of her. And our youngest
is not.
She wants to be challenged. And if something that she doesn't find it interesting or challenging, she is not in. And she will dig her heels in, and you cannot lead her to drink. So it's like, our older ones really more...
I'm going to have different challenges with the younger one.
Right. Our older ones just really go with the flow. She's just happy to be here. Our younger one's like, no, I don't like that.
No.
So the thing is, she happens to like the math and the reading that we're doing, and so she's excelling. But if she didn't like it...
But as we said earlier, we have run into the curriculums where she didn't enjoy it. And it is like non-starter with her.
She's
I just don't want to do it.
She's out.
So I could imagine if I ran into like a math thing that she didn't like.
Yeah, if we start and she doesn't like it, she's out. We will have to do something else. Whereas our older daughter, she'll be like, all right, and she'll power through even something that she doesn't really love.
So stay tuned later this year when we run into the roadblocks with the younger one.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of roadblocks, we'll do All About Reading, hopefully level 1 starting maybe middle of the summer. I'm going to try and do Right Start and All About Reading at the same time, learning the letters, proto reading and everything like that.
She'll be a rising kindergarten. She'll be 5.
And she will be starting kindergarten later this year. So that's kind of where she is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's math and reading for her. That's kind of an introduction there. We are talking about doing some science this year.
Yeah, we did the Blossom and Root K space science with our older daughter when we did Around the World, and it's just, it's awesome.
It's cute.
It's really awesome. Fun. We had talked about we have an upcoming trip to Orlando later this year, and that'll dovetail really well with it, going to Kennedy and kind of getting that excitement going. That's, again, the thing. Yeah, it's technically K, but gosh, there was a lot of good stuff in there, and it could easily be leveraged into 3rd grade.
And
it's not a problem.
And next year we'll be doing the prehistory again that we did before. And
right.
For us, doing that last year, for us, that was science.
It was very much science.
Our whole curriculum was science, and so we really like that. So we're going to be doing that again next year. But this year we got to find something to do. Yeah,
that prehistory is Blossom and Root's 3rd grade science.
Yeah.
What is it?
Adjunct
kind of thing, right?
It's an
extension. Extension is the word I'm looking for, and coupled with Build Your Library. So yeah, that was really great. I'm not concerned at all about our daughter not getting, our 3rd grader not getting adequate science, because there's so much stuff we can lean into with space science.
I agree.
And I think she's going to gain just an even greater appreciation for it. But I would never skip that. I think that science from Blossom and Root is just. It's just the perfect science introduction. I love it so much.
It is, absolutely. So going from there, we'll talk a little bit about our parent partnership. So we do attend a parent partnership, which is essentially a public school here in the state of Washington. This is not a school that does the education. Obviously, from everything we've talked about up until this point, we handle 98% of it. And we use our parent partnership for a lot of those, the socialization, hanging out with other kids. The entire parent partnership is, massive. It's like 700-800 kids, and they're all from K to 12th grade, and they are all homeschoolers, and they attend these classes, and these are enrichment classes. These are not like reading and math classes, although you can take a reading and math class. You could take science classes,
if you want.
Whatever you want to do, but you can also take woodworking and sewing and fiddle and things of that nature.
Yep.
And so we are using
robotics,
Lego. Yeah, we're using the lightsaber. What's the science next year she's going to do with
Harry
Potter?
She's going to do Hogwarts science. There's like
science.
a 3-year rotation of Hogwarts science, and they do one's all about plants and animals. They call it herbology, and so I mean, she's
going to be jazzed about that.
It's going to be, and there's a spa class she wants to take with it's all about learning
She's so excited to give us massages and paint our nails.
Well, you know what? I think it's actually a good class because it actually teaches more than just like beauty stuff. It teaches like
hygiene,
and how to care for your body. So that's really cool. But there's singing, and there's all kinds of active classes there, and classes for hands-on skills and cooking and just lots of that kind of stuff. So it's a great way to get enrichment classes without having to shell out extra dollars and drive all over the place to different classes. So that works out really well for us.
It's great. She's made a lot of friends, a lot of friends that she's seen in other places, like in her sports and stuff like that. So it's nice to see a lot of friendly faces around. And so we attend the parent partnership. What is wonderful about it is that our youngest will now be going to the parent partnership, and I will no longer have to do the tearing butt across campus, across town to go and get her from preschool at, noon and whatnot. I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, it'll be nice.
It'll be really nice.
And she's very excited to attend. She actually attends quite a few classes right now with her older sister. The partnership is really lovely.
She's auditing the class.
Yeah. And I think this is true with a lot of other parent partnerships, some charters, co-ops, where, you've got parents in classrooms, you've got younger siblings. One of her classes, she has a music class, and your father actually comes and takes the class with her and brings his instrument too, and they all play as part of the orchestra. And so there's younger siblings, there's parents, there's grandparents.
Yeah, it's really open to. It's a family atmosphere. It's a family atmosphere, and what's so cool about it is that, as what you said, I think that the experience that my daughter's had with the strings class is, I think, emblematic of what the school, this is what schools could be like, right? Where she takes a strings class, she's got 10 or 12 other kids in there, in the room, a wide range of ages, maybe up to, 10 or 11 years old, all the way down to 6 years old. There's about 5 or 6 parents in there. And then
that are also learning.
There's a mother who was learning the violin as well, and so she was, attending the class and doing all the work as well. And then my father's able to come and play cello as well, and join in with them, and that not to be an issue, and that to be not be something weird, and actually be celebrated. I think it really shows, I think, what school could be, when you kind of open and embrace the family atmosphere. So our school is very much a family atmosphere, and you can't miss it when you go there. There's like parents and little children and babies.
Well, it's funny too. Our daughter's going to be our younger's going to be going into kindergarten with the kindergarten teacher there next year. And she already knows and loves that teacher because when she was 2, she used to sit on her lap while she read stories to our older daughter's kindergarten class. And it was we always were like, "Oh no, we're so sorry." She goes, "Oh no, come in." And
come on up.
She would sit on her lap while she'd read stories, and she would do activities with them.
She's been waiting for this since she was like, I don't know.
She was 2.
2, yeah.
Yeah, she's been waiting to get
3
into
years
this
now
class.
to get into this class, and she's finally going to go, and she's going to attend the class, and what's going to be really great.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and then that's a big class, so we get like 7 credits, and it takes up, I think, 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
And then, so she's going to take a couple additional classes as well. That's our younger.
She's having a hard time choosing. We've been talking with her about it. She wants to do like all the classes Big Sister takes. And what's really fun too is that the school allows us to add and drop classes whenever we want. So if something's not working for our family or not working for our kids in whatever way, we just
encourage you to change. Yeah.
We just make a change. What's nice too is that there isn't a lot of bring home stuff, so it's not like they have a lot of homework. No. It's pretty loose. They do understand that we have a pretty rigorous home schedule of all the things we got to teach at home. We have some friends that go to a different parent partnership that has a lot less classes, but they get an intense amount of homework from that, and that really affects how much they can do at home. So we're appreciative of kind of the level. I'm sure it's going to grow as she gets older, but now at this young age, she can kind of go take these fun classes, come home, and there's some practice and some things she needs to do, but in general, it doesn't really impede the stuff we want to do at home, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Moving beyond the parent partnership, we've talked about both of our daughters' math and reading, and then the social studies curriculum.
And science.
And science is a little bit as well. The main thing, I think, with respect to challenges that we have coming up this year, for me, it's going to be finding time with both of them. I know there's a lot of parents listening here and go, Matt, get out of the way. I got 3 kids. I do this. No big deal. For me, it's going to be something brand new because I've been able to focus with my older daughter for so long, and my youngest really just not having much expectation.
Well, they're also at school at different times, right? Our younger daughter's in preschool a couple of days a week, and our older daughter's at the parent partnership, and they're not on the same days. No. So there's time where you get with each kid and you get to focus on them.
Now I've got to make the big decision. Do I make sure the classes are on the same time or make sure they're not? Like, do I want some free time for myself?
You're looking forward to that, actually.
I've had both experiences where I aligned the schedules one year so that they were preschool and in classes at the same time. That gave me 2 mornings a week where I could, write and relax, and I didn't have to worry about a lot of stuff. I could prep for things and whatnot. This year I took the shifted schedule so that, my youngest was in preschool while my oldest was home. And so it gave me 2 full days, the Tuesday, Thursdays, in order to do all the homeschooling. And we do get a lion's share of the homeschooling done that day. On Monday was kind of a test ground for me and whether or not I could homeschool both of them together. And that has proven to be pretty good. So I'm tentatively going to say align the schedules.
Give yourself some time.
Give myself some free time. I've been feeling like I've been missing that this year.
Yeah.
Just as a parent and as an educator, I've been missing that a little bit this year. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll try to align them this coming year and see if that helps. And then can I do homeschooling with both of them at different times? And we're going to definitely be testing a lot of stuff this year. Just as a reference, my youngest just gave up her nap, 4 months ago, 5 months ago. So it is still, new territory for us with respect to how do I handle her on a daily basis. And it's very new for me to have like both kids up in the afternoon doing activities, both having quiet time.
Yeah.
Me being able to go into the garage. Can I leave a 4-year-old with an 8-year-old? Is that against the law? Can I go work out while I do that? Like there's been a lot of discovery in the last few months, and all that discovery has been with the focus of, well, how am I going to handle educating both these children at the same time? Mm-hmm. How will my schedules look? Will I have to spend less time with my 8-year-old? Will her velocity in math come down? Will her velocity in reading come down because now I've got to invest a little bit more time with this kid? I have to think about that. So that's one of my biggest challenges this year.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we may do is we may decide to put, we've talked about how we tend to pair these more instructor-intensive curriculums with less, right, in the same subject matter. What we might do is, do some sort of an offset where our older daughter is doing doing all about reading and doing Math Mammoth, or she's doing Right Start and Explode the Code, so that each kid only has one intensive of the 2 core subjects.
Yep. And we may
do the same with the other. That way we can
leveraging the summers as well to get those more intensive curriculums because, it's easier. I'm home with everyone. But like with what happened last year with the summer, this past summer, I felt like that summer just ripped through.
Oh my gosh, it was gone in an instant.
It vaporized.
Well, they had so many friends that there was a lot of play dates and there was a lot of fun.
But there was also like a lot of trips to Nana and Papa's and Grandma and Grandpa's.
Well, and there was Girl Scout camps
and everything.
There was a lot of that kind of stuff too. And there's even more camps this year.
I'm starting to shift my expectations with respect to like what can I get done in the summer and what is realistic in the summer. I remember like halfway through the summer going, gosh, I'm not moving as fast as I thought it was. And maybe the summer's not as functional as it was before when we didn't have as much going on. So I'm going to have to like tiptoe into that. This summer's going to be a lot of tiptoeing, trying to find out what is kind of the normal. Talked a little bit about balancing the parent partnership with the 2 children. How are we going to schedule? We have this amazing moment coming in June where we're going to schedule both these girls, and we got to figure out how does their schedules align? When do they take classes? How many, I'm going to be at this parent partnership 9 days out of 5 days of the week. It's like, like how often will I be here? It's kind of interesting to think about. And finally, guys, I'm in the middle of it right now. Sports and activities. I'm coaching 2 girls basketball teams. I got my first and second grade girls basketball team, but I'm also coaching pre-K basketball, which I refer to as the coaching gulag. If you can win there, you can win anywhere. It's funny. I said, oh yeah, I'll, coach some 4-year-olds. No big deal. Play basketball. Sure. And then I kind of looked at you and I said, Ariel, there's a possibility that 50% of my team just learned to be potty trained in the last calendar year. Like, what am I getting myself into?
Some of them might not be.
Some of them still might be struggling a little bit, And
Right.
I got to teach them defense and offense and shooting and dribbling. This is crazy.
Yeah. They're just there to have fun.
Anyway,
but sports are starting to become a thing, right? Yep. We've got fall sports and spring sports, and I don't know. We never do anything in half measures. So you're you always coach, your assistant coach, or we're always really involved. So we have that, and it's fun. We know a family that's a few years ahead of us. They've got 3 kids, and their oldest is in high school, and then they have one in middle school and one in mid elementary.
I think we're going to get her on the podcast and talk to her about.
We're going to have to at some point,
because she's kind of like.
If you're listening to this, you know who you are.
Yeah,
but
she's
it's funny.
Kind of that window into the future for us.
Yeah, but it's fun.
We were talking about you the other day.
Yeah, but it's fun because I'm seeing like the future of how much of their lives revolve around the sports of their kids, and their kids are in sports kind of all year long. And our oldest is she digs sports from like a social standpoint at this point, but our youngest is like,
she's got the eye.
She loves sports. She's super active. She loves it. She's like it's totally her jam. So I can see that growing as the years go by. And this will be a good test year because our youngest can't do all the sports yet she might want to do. She wants to. But our older daughter certainly will be involved in a few different ones.
And the reason is like, oh, Matt, why do you coach? And for me, like athletics was such a big piece of my life. All the way up into college as well, right? And even beyond that, like playing intramural basketball here in Puget Sound, PSBL area, league here in Seattle. And, I played intramurals in college, and I played a little bit of collegiate sports as well. So like sports have been a big thing for me for a long time. And only recently have I not played sports, and I've gone more into like, weightlifting and fitness and stuff like that. But for me, I want sports to be a thing for them, not just for the fitness aspect, but also there's a lot of psychological stuff there, and a lot of learning and team building and individual, overcoming, a lot of struggle and finding, a deeper level within yourself to compete and whatnot. And the reason why I coach is because I had a lot of coaches that were not very good, and I had a lot of coaches that were really good. And I think I'm a decent coach.
I think you're a great coach. Well, I mean, 6 or 7 of your 10 girls on your squad all requested you as a coach because they had been with you last year. They'd been with you during volleyball.
Yeah.
And I think mostly we want our girls to have a really positive experience.
Thank you. And I want them to have a good experience, not because I'm going to teach them the optimal way to play zone defense or the optimal way to serve a volleyball, but I really want their experience to be very positive. And I want it to be very formidable in their life. And I want them to remember, Dad was there to help me, and he was a big piece of it.
I think so too. We've played against some other coaches in these couple leagues, and some of them are really intense with their kids.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think it's amazing that you do what you do. You're a terrific coach. And just knowing that every girl on that team is getting a good, positive building experience. They all were better at the end of the year than they were at the beginning. They all had more confidence. They had more fun. They walked out of it saying that was really fun. Even if they didn't come back and play the next year, they all had a good time, and they made friendships. And so I think it's awesome.
Well, it'd be cool too to carry forward, if there's girls that just keep coming back to the same sport. You're right. You start to build a friend network. And especially when she gets older, she's going to be allowed to play at the high school and the middle school levels. That is going to be something she's allowed to do, even though she's a homeschooler. Yeah. As our friend, her son, is at the local high school, and he actually competes on multiple sports and has friends and has other homeschoolers that he plays with. that's important for me, because if she goes to that school, I want her to know a few people already.
Sure.
And it's the best way to have that is just to carry her through a bunch of sports and stuff. So
Absolutely. And so while you're leaning into that, I've taken on Girl Scout leadership. So this is my first year doing it. And
Empress of Brownies.
I can't really imagine not doing it next year, although it's a lot of work and I don't think I'm great at it, but my co-leader is amazing and helps me feel better about the whole thing because she's really good with kids. I'm just a better organizer. I'm not great. I'm great with my own kids, I think, but I'm not great with like everybody's kids. You're great with like all kids. I'm not really, I don't have that gene.
It's okay, Ariel. Ariel falls into the camp of, I really like my kids. I don't really like your kids.
I mean, in general, there's only a few other kids that I really like. But
I think we all have that. Like
I'm
parents
just,
listening right now are laughing. They're like, "Yeah, I don't like any other kids, but I like my kids."
Yeah, I like my own kids most of the time.
I like all the kids. They're all cool.
See, you're good with kids though. I really don't. I was not born with that gene, and I was actually a little worried when we were pregnant with our first. Like,
am I gonna like this child?
Yeah, like. I'm not good with children. Am I gonna be okay with it? And it just came naturally. It was fine. But yeah, now that I'm like leading other
That's
people's,
what you keep telling yourself.
Right. Now that I'm leading other people's kids, I'm like, I'm not great at this. I'm really looking forward actually to when they step up to the next level and become juniors, because I think that's much more on my wavelength than Brownies is still a little squirrely for me.
You want to be able to rationalize with them.
I want them to be able to sit down and say, hey, let's do this activity and let's all give it some attention and some care. Yeah. And right now they're kind of just crazy a lot of the time. So
you haven't mastered the psychological manipulation of young children.
No. But it's great. We have a homeschool troop, and so that's awesome because we have multi-ages in there.
It's tremendous.
And they have girls that are entering high school that they can learn from, and then they've got younger girls they can model for. Mm-hmm. So, and there's toddlers toddling around and stuff, and there's plenty of moms. I can't imagine those Girl Scout leaders or Boy Scout leaders or whatever, if you lead a group of children through something like this and the parents leave and you're just there with other people's kids, I mean, my hat's off to you. I love the fact that these parents, because it's homeschool troop, the moms and dads just stay. And that's fabulous because I don't know that I would survive if I was on my own. And some of those Girl Scout troops too are like, I mean, they've got like 18 second graders or something, and there's like 2 leaders. How are you ladies doing this? I have 6. And if I am ever by myself, I am like, even with my co-leader, I sometimes feel a little outnumbered. So, yeah. So
you need a whistle.
So I'm leaning into that, and so that's going to be a big piece too of this next year and of us juggling, and I think that's where we're going to cap it. One and our younger daughter is a proto Daisy this year. She's attended and she's just joined in with the Daisy group because she's 4.5, but she's got the like emotional intelligence of like a kindergartner, so she's just right in there with the kindergartners, and she's having a great time. So next year she will be a Daisy and our older daughter will be a Brownie. So they'll both be in the troop together, and that will be really great. So that'll be great. So this is the last year that our daughter gets to sell cookies on her own. Oh. Next year, she's going to have to share all her earnings with her sister.
And she's already upset about it.
She knows. Yeah. She's aware that this is her last year. She's like, I got to seize this opportunity.
Carpe diem.
Yeah. She knows next year she's got to split the pot. So,
Yeah, we hope this is, get a window into year 5 for us, and seeing the evolution. Thank you guys who
still
have been
committed. Still haven't decided to leave. So you say every anniversary, like, all right, we're still in this, right? I'm like, yeah, we're still in
Keep
this.
it going.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you clean the blood off. You're like, I'm not down yet.
Well, yeah, it's funny we say this every wedding anniversary. We'll hit 15. You want
to keep doing this?
Yeah, our 15th wedding anniversary. Every anniversary, you're like, all right, I still love you. You want to still go? Yeah. Let's stick with this.
Keep it going.
It's kind of our running joke, and I think homeschool is that way for us too. We really. I think we're kind of long-term mindset, and hopefully our kids will be too. We'll see what the future brings for us.
And we hope this little window into our coming year has helped you. Thank you guys who continue to support the podcast, who've been here, the long haulers who have been here for a long time, and all you guys who are new. We're so happy to have you here, and we have some fun things coming up this year, and we're putting together podcast plan for the next couple months and everything. We were just coming up with some ideas.
Yeah,
and
some fun stuff.
We got a lot of fun stuff, and we are happy to have you. And make sure you check out our YouTube channel and see our faces instead of our voices. Well, see our faces and our voices.
And if you have things that you're struggling with, or suggestions for episodes, or some specific like expert, maybe you listened to another podcast or you read somebody's book or something, and you were like, oh, that person's fabulous, I'd love to hear from them. Drop us a line. It's homeschooltogetherpodcast@gmail.com. Drop us a line. Let us know.
Or if you're a first-year homeschooler and you want to talk about your experience.
Yeah, if you have some unique experience, we would love to. We love doing these homeschool journeys interviews where we talk with families just about what their day's like. I remember before I started homeschooling and when we were very new into it, I just loved listening to like a day in the life of other people and what it looked like for them, and I could kind of dream about what it was going to be like for me. And I think that helps us to build community and see some commonalities. So yeah, we do series of first-year homeschoolers. So if it's your first year, kind of what you learned and how that went for you, reach out to us. Or if you have a homeschool journey you want to talk about, definitely reach out to us. We would love to talk with you for the podcast. So here's to 2024, the 4th year of the podcast. And we're pretty excited to keep doing this and keep bringing you guys new content. Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time,
Happy homeschooling!